The steady beep of hospital monitors, the sterile smell of antiseptic, the cold fluorescent lights overhead. They say you never truly know someone until you're at your lowest point. I learned that truth lying on a hospital gurney, 20 minutes before they were scheduled to cut me open and take one of my kidneys. David Chen, you're making the right decision, my wife Rachel said, squeezing my hand. Her eyes were red from crying, but there was something else there too. Something I was too naive to recognize as relief rather than gratitude. I smiled weakly at her, the pre-op medications making everything feel distant and surreal. Of course, honey, if it saves his life. You don't understand how much this means to me, she whispered, leaning close. Marcus was my whole world once. Seeing him dying like that, I couldn't bear it. Marcus Sterling, her first love, her college sweetheart. The man she'd supposedly moved on from when she married me 5 years ago. I should have known then. I should have seen the truth written in every tear she shed, in every sleepless night she spent at his bedside instead of mine. But I was a fool in love, believing that marriage meant choosing your spouse above all others. I was about to give up a part of my body for a stranger. No, for someone worse than a stranger. For the ghost that had haunted my marriage from day one. What I didn't know was that this decision would destroy everything I thought I knew about love, loyalty, and the woman I'd vowed to spend my life with. This is the story of how I died on that operating table, not physically, but in every way that mattered, and how I was reborn from the ashes of that betrayal into someone stronger, wiser, and finally free. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back to where it all began. The sound of traffic on Fifth Avenue. The bustle of New York City at rush hour. My name is David Chen, and 3 months before that operating room, I thought I had everything figured out. I was 32 years old, a senior architect at Morrison & Associates, one of Manhattan's most prestigious firms. My portfolio included 3 award-winning commercial buildings and a residential complex that had been featured in Architectural Digest. I had a beautiful brownstone in Brooklyn Heights that Rachel and I had renovated together, pouring our hearts into every detail. And I had Rachel. God, did I have Rachel. Rachel Morrison. She kept her maiden name professionally, which I'd never minded. She was everything I'd ever wanted, brilliant, beautiful, ambitious. She ran her own marketing consultancy, commanding rooms full of Fortune 500 executives with the same ease that she commanded my heart. We'd met at a charity gala 5 years ago. I was there representing my firm. She was there networking for clients. I'd been standing by the bar, nursing a whiskey and trying to look comfortable in my rented tuxedo when she'd approached me. You look like you'd rather be anywhere else, she'd said, her green eyes sparkling with amusement. Is it that obvious? I'd laughed. Only to someone who feels the same way. I'm Rachel. David. We talked for 3 hours straight, forgetting about networking and business entirely. She was sharp, witty, and had this way of making me feel like I was the most interesting person in the room. 6 months later, I proposed. 6 months after that, we were married. For the first few years, it was perfect. We were the couple our friends envied, successful, attractive, seemingly made for each other. We hosted dinner parties, took romantic vacations to Italy and Japan, supported each other's careers. But if I'm being honest, and what's the point of this story if I'm not? There were cracks I chose not to see. The sound of keys in a door, footsteps on hardwood floors. David, are you home? Rachel's voice called out as she entered our brownstone that evening in late March. I emerged from my home office, where I'd been working on designs for a new mixed-use development in Tribeca. Hey, honey, how was your day? She dropped her designer bag on the console table, a vintage piece we'd found at an antique shop in Vermont, and kicked off her heels with a sigh. Exhausting. The Rothstein account is being difficult about the rebranding proposal. How about you? Morrison loved the Tribeca designs. Looks like we'll be breaking ground in June. That's wonderful. She moved to kiss me, but it was perfunctory, distracted. I'm going to take a bath. There's leftover Thai in the fridge if you're hungry. I watched her climb the stairs, noticing the tension in her shoulders, the way she was checking her phone even as she walked away. This had become our routine lately, parallel lives running in the same house but not quite intersecting. I told myself it was just a phase. All marriages went through periods of distance, right? We were both busy with our careers. It didn't mean anything. I headed to the kitchen, reheating the pad thai while scrolling through my own phone. A text from my younger sister Amy popped up. Lunch this week. Haven't seen you in forever. Rachel keeping you locked in the brownstone. I smiled and replied, Thursday work, 12:30 at that place in Soho you like. Perfect. Can't wait to hear what's new. If only I'd known that in 2 days everything would change. The ping of a notification, the glow of a phone screen in darkness. I woke up at 2:47 a.m. to the sound of Rachel's phone vibrating on her nightstand. Once, twice, 3 times in rapid succession. She stirred beside me, reaching for it instinctively. Hello, her voice was thick with sleep, but it cleared quickly. What, when, oh my God, no. I sat up, suddenly alert. Rachel, what's wrong? She was already getting out of bed, pacing to the window. How bad is it? Which hospital? I'm coming right now. Yes, I'm coming now. Rachel, I tried again. She ended the call, her hand shaking. In the dim light from the street lamps outside, I could see tears streaming down her face. It's Marcus, she whispered. He's in the hospital, kidney failure. They don't know if he'll make it through the night. Marcus Sterling. I'd heard the name before, of course. Rachel had mentioned him occasionally in the early days of our relationship. My college boyfriend, always said with a casual dismissiveness that suggested he was firmly in the past. But the way she said his name now, with such raw anguish, made something cold settle in my chest. I'm so sorry, I said, moving to comfort her. That's terrible. Was he sick? I don't know. We haven't talked in years. She was already pulling on clothes, grabbing her purse. I have to go to him. Columbia Presbyterian. His brother called me. I'm listed as his emergency contact. I need to go. Wait, you're still his emergency contact, after all these years. She froze, and for a moment something flickered across her face, guilt, defensiveness, before it was replaced by grief. David, please, this isn't the time. A man is dying. Of course, I'll come with you. No, the sharpness of her response shocked us both. She softened immediately. I mean, there's no need for both of us to lose sleep. I'll call you with updates. I need to be there for him. Please understand. I didn't understand, but I nodded anyway because that's what I always did. I convinced myself I was being supportive, understanding, the perfect husband. In reality, I was just afraid of the answer if I pushed too hard. She was gone within 5 minutes, leaving me alone in our bedroom with a growing sense of unease I couldn't quite name. I didn't sleep the rest of that night. The buzz of a diner, the clink of coffee cups. You look like hell, Amy said bluntly when we met for lunch on Thursday. My sister had always been direct. At 28, she was a civil rights attorney with a fierce spirit and zero tolerance for bullshit. We'd been close our whole lives, and she'd been skeptical of Rachel from the start, though she'd kept her concerns mostly to herself after the wedding. Thanks, I said dryly, sipping my coffee. It was my 3rd cup of the day. Rough week. What's going on? I'd been debating whether to tell her about the Marcus situation, but the words spilled out anyway. I told her about the 2 a.m. call, about Rachel rushing to the hospital, about how she'd barely been home since. She's been there for 3 days. Amy's eyebrows rose. David, I know how it sounds, but he's in critical condition. They're not sure he'll survive without a transplant. She's just being compassionate. Compassionate. Amy set down her fork, her expression serious. David, you're my brother and I love you, but sometimes you're incredibly naive. A woman doesn't drop everything and camp out at her ex-boyfriend's hospital bedside for days unless there are still feelings there. That's not fair. You do the same thing if what? If some guy I dated in college got sick. No, I wouldn't. I'd send flowers and a card. I'd maybe visit once. I certainly wouldn't abandon my husband for 3 days straight. The word abandon stung because it was accurate. Rachel had barely texted me except to say she'd be staying at the hospital again, that Marcus's condition was touch and go, that she couldn't leave him. His family is with him too, I said defensively. His brother, his parents, she's not alone with him. Amy reached across the table and squeezed my hand. I'm not trying to be cruel, I just don't want you to get hurt. Have you been to the hospital yourself? She asked me not to, said it would make things awkward. Awkward for whom exactly? I didn't have an answer for that. The click of heels on marble floors, the antiseptic smell of a hospital. On the 5th day, Rachel finally called and asked me to come to Columbia Presbyterian. We need to talk, she said, her voice exhausted. Can you come after work? Something in her tone made my stomach drop. He's stable, for now. But David, please come, I need you. Those last 3 words made me forget all my doubts. I need you. When was the last time she'd said that? I left work early, making an excuse to Morrison about a family emergency. The March evening was cold, rain threatening, as I caught an Uber to the hospital. Rachel was waiting in the lobby, looking like she hadn't slept in days. Her usually immaculate appearance was disheveled, makeup smudged, hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. She'd never looked more vulnerable. "Thank you for coming," she said, hugging me tightly. I could feel her trembling. "Of course, what's going on?" She pulled back, taking my hands in hers. "Let's sit down." We found a quiet corner in the lobby. Through the windows, I could see the city lights beginning to glow as evening fell. "Marcus needs a kidney transplant," Rachel began. "Without it, he'll die soon, weeks, maybe months at best." "I'm so sorry, that's awful. Is he on the transplant list?" "Yes, but it could take years." "He doesn't have years. He might not even have months." She took a shaky breath. "His family has been tested. None of them are matches, they're desperate." A cold feeling crept up my spine. "Rachel, why am I here?" "Because I want to get tested, to see if I'm a match." Of all the things I'd expected, this wasn't it. "You want to donate your kidney to your ex-boyfriend." "I want to save someone's life," she corrected, a flash of defensiveness in her eyes. "David, if you could see him lying there, so weak, so scared. He's only 33. He has his whole life ahead of him. And what about my wife's life? What about our life?" The questions burned in my mind, but I couldn't voice them. It felt selfish to think them. "Okay," I said slowly. "If you want to get tested, I support you. There's more." She bit her lip. "I want you to get tested too." The lobby seemed to tilt. "What?" "I know it's a huge ask, but David, statistically, the more people who get tested, the better the chances of finding a match. His family has all been ruled out. Friends are being tested, but so far nothing," I thought. "Maybe you want me to donate my kidney to a man I've never met, your ex-boyfriend." She flinched at the way I said it. "I'm asking you to potentially save a human life. When you put it in those terms, how can anyone say no?" There it was, the trap I didn't recognize as a trap, the moral high ground she was claiming, making it impossible for me to refuse without seeming like a monster. "I need to think about this," I said. "Marcus doesn't have time for you to think." Her voice rose, drawing glances from nearby people. She lowered it again. I'm sorry, I'm so scared, David. Please just get tested. That's all I'm asking. Just see if you're a match. We can discuss the rest later." This was the moment I should have said no, should have stood my ground, should have recognized that something was fundamentally wrong with this entire situation. But I was a fool in love, and I convinced myself that being a good husband meant supporting my wife's choices, even when they made no sense. "Okay," I heard myself say. "I'll get tested." The relief on her face was profound. She threw her arms around me, crying into my shoulder. Thank you so much. You have no idea what this means to me." But I did. That was the problem. I was beginning to understand exactly what it meant, the hum of medical equipment. Scratch of a pen on clipboard. The testing was quick, just blood work and some basic medical questions. Rachel scheduled both of us for the next morning, calling in sick to work, asking me to do the same. "It'll just take an hour," she promised. "Then we'll know." The transplant coordinator, a kind-faced woman named Dr. Sarah Williams, walked us through the process. "Once we get the results, if either of you is a match, we'll do more extensive testing to make sure you're healthy enough to donate." Kidney donation is generally safe, but it's still major surgery with risks. "How long until we get results?" Rachel asked eagerly. "Usually about a week for the initial compatibility testing." Rachel's face fell. "A week? Marcus might not have a week." "We'll put a rush on it," Dr. Williams said gently. "I understand the urgency. We'll have preliminary results in 72 hours. As we left the hospital, Rachel was more animated than she'd been in months. She talked about Marcus's condition, about his medical history, about how grateful his family would be if we could help. I noticed she said "we" a lot, as if it were a foregone conclusion, as if I'd already agreed to go through with it if I matched. "Rachel," I interrupted finally, "if I am a match, I haven't actually agreed to donate yet. You understand that, right?" She stopped walking, turning to face me on the busy Manhattan sidewalk. People flowed around us like water around stones. You haven't agreed. Her voice was cold. David, you just spent an hour getting tested. What did you think that meant? I agreed to see if I'm compatible, that's all. This is a huge decision. I need time. You need time while Marcus is dying. She laughed, but there was no humor in it. I can't believe you're being this selfish. Selfish? Rachel, I'm talking about undergoing major surgery to give up an organ for a stranger. He's not a stranger to me. The words hung between us, sharp and revealing. Clearly, I said quietly. Her expression shifted, damage control kicking in. I didn't mean it like that. I just meant, David, please, if you're a match, please don't let him die. I'm begging you. I'll never ask you for anything else as long as we live. Please. How do you say no to that? How do you tell your wife you won't save someone's life? You can't, or at least I couldn't, not then. Let's just wait for the results, I said finally. We'll cross that bridge if we come to it. But I could see in her eyes that the bridge was already burning, the ding of an email notification, the sound of a world shifting. The call came 3 days later while I was in a meeting with Morrison and a potential client. I need to take this, I said, seeing Rachel's name flash across my screen. Excuse me. I stepped into the hallway. Rachel, you're a match. Her voice was breathless, ecstatic. David, you're a match. 10 out of 10 antigens. Dr. Williams said it's incredibly rare, that you're basically the perfect donor. It's like fate. My legs felt weak. I leaned against the wall. I'm a match. Yes, oh my God, yes, this is a miracle. You're going to save his life, David. You're going to be a hero. And you, I asked, were you a match? A pause, a telling pause. No, I wasn't compatible, but you are, and that's what matters. When can you meet with Dr. Williams? They want to do the additional health screenings as soon as possible. Maybe even schedule surgery for next week if everything checks out. Next week, my voice came out strangled. Rachel, I need to think about this. I need to talk to my own doctor, understand the risks. What's there to think about? Her joy was evaporating, replaced by impatience. You're healthy, you're a match, a man is dying. These aren't complicated calculations, David. It's my body, it's my kidney. I think I'm entitled to some time to process this. Time, she spat the word. That's all you care about, your time, your needs, your comfort. Meanwhile, Marcus is suffering every single day. Do you know what dialysis is like? Do you know what it's doing to his body? No, I don't, because I don't know Marcus. I've never met Marcus. I've never even seen a picture of Marcus. But I'm supposed to give him a part of my body. Yes, she shouted. Yes, you are, because you're my husband and you love me, and this is what I need from you. This is the one thing I'm asking, David. One thing in 5 years of marriage, and you can't even do this for me. This was the moment. The moment I should have seen it for what it was, emotional manipulation, guilt-tripping, a complete violation of my autonomy. But I was drowning in her tears, in her desperation, in the idea that saying no would make me the villain of this story. Let me talk to Dr. Williams, I said wearily. Let me understand what I'm getting into. Thank you. Her voice softened immediately, sweetness returning. Thank you, my love. I knew you'd do the right thing. I'll set up the appointment for tomorrow. I love you so much. She hung up before I could respond. The rustle of medical brochures, the measured tone of a doctor's voice. Dr. Williams was thorough, I'll give her that. She spent 2 hours with me the next day, going over every aspect of what kidney donation entailed. The surgery itself is laparoscopic, so recovery is generally faster than it used to be, she explained. You'll be in the hospital for 2 to 3 days, then off work for 4 to 6 weeks. Most donors return to normal activity levels after that, though some report chronic pain or fatigue. What are the risks? With any surgery, there's risk of infection, bleeding, blood clots. Specific to kidney donation, there's a very small risk of kidney failure in your remaining kidney, about 1 in 3,000. Your blood pressure may increase. You'll need to avoid contact sports, be careful about certain medications, and if you ever develop kidney disease yourself, you won't have that spare kidney. I absorbed this, trying to imagine my life with one kidney. What about life expectancy? Studies show that kidney donors generally have the same life expectancy as the general population, but that's partially because donors are screened to be exceptionally healthy to begin with. You're essentially banking on staying healthy, no guarantees. Rachel, who had insisted on being present for the appointment, squeezed my hand. David is very healthy. He runs, he eats well, he doesn't smoke. This is perfect. Dr. Williams looked at me carefully. Mr. Chen, I need to ask, do you feel pressured to do this? No, I said at the exact same moment Rachel said, of course not. Because if there's any doubt, any hesitation, now is the time to voice it. Donation has to be voluntary, free from coercion. I could have said it then. Could have admitted that, yes, I felt pressured, that my wife had barely been home in 2 weeks, that she cried every night about Marcus, that she looked at me with such hope and desperation that saying no felt like I'd be killing someone myself. I want to do it, I lied. If I can save someone's life, I should. Dr. Williams nodded slowly. All right, we'll schedule the additional tests. Physical exam, psychological evaluation, kidney function tests. If everything looks good, we can schedule surgery for 2 weeks from now. 2 weeks, Rachel's face lit up. That soon, given Mr. Sterling's condition, we're prioritizing this. But Mr. Chen, she looked at me seriously, you can back out at any time up until they put you under. This is your decision, not your wife's, not Marcus Sterling's, yours. I nodded, but her words felt hollow. The train had left the station. I was just along for the ride now. Footsteps echoing in a hospital corridor, the squeak of door hinges. He wants to meet you, Rachel said a few days later. Marcus, he wants to thank you personally. We were in our brownstone, the first evening Rachel had actually stayed home since this all began. She'd made dinner, or rather, ordered from my favorite Italian place and opened a bottle of expensive wine. It felt like a celebration, though I wasn't sure what we were celebrating. I don't know if that's a good idea, I said carefully. Why not, David? You're giving him a kidney. The least you can do is meet him. The least I can do, as if I hadn't already done enough. Fine, I said. When? Tomorrow, after you finish your psychological evaluation. Right, the psych eval. Another hoop to jump through, another opportunity to back out that I knew I wouldn't take. Okay, tomorrow. She smiled, really smiled, for the first time in weeks, and kissed me. You're amazing, you know that. Not every husband would do what you're doing. She was right about that. I just didn't realize yet that I shouldn't be doing it either. The steady beep of monitors, shallow, labored breathing. Marcus Sterling's hospital room was private, flowers covering every surface, cards and balloons proclaiming, "Get well soon," in cheerful colors that felt obscene given the situation. And there in the bed was the man who had haunted my marriage. He was handsome. I could admit that objectively. Even ravaged by illness, you could see the strong jawline, the athletic build now whittled down by disease, the dark hair that fell across his forehead. He looked like he'd stepped out of a Ralph Lauren ad, or would have if not for the IV lines and the pallor of his skin. David, Rachel said softly, leading me to his bedside. This is Marcus. Marcus, this is my husband, David. Marcus turned his head, and I saw his eyes, the same green as Rachel's, I noticed with an uncomfortable jolt, focus on me. He tried to smile. David Chen, his voice was weak but warm. The man who's saving my life, I don't even know how to begin to thank you. You don't need to thank me, I said stiffly. Yes, I do, what you're doing. Most people wouldn't, especially for a stranger, especially for, he glanced at Rachel, something unspoken passing between them. Well, this situation isn't exactly normal. No, I agreed. It's not. An awkward silence fell. Rachel filled it by fussing over Marcus's blankets, adjusting his pillows, acting with an intimacy that made my chest tight. Rachel speaks very highly of you, Marcus said. Your work, your character. She's lucky to have found you. The words should have been comforting. Instead, they felt like mockery, like he was acknowledging that he was the one she'd wanted, but I was the one she'd settled for. I'm the lucky one, I said, the lie tasting bitter. Marcus is an investment banker, Rachel offered, clearly trying to find common ground. He works at Sterling Brothers, it's his family's firm. Maybe you two have more in common than you think. Sterling Brothers, I recognized the name. The hedge fund, Marcus nodded weakly. 4th generation, my great-grandfather started it. I was supposed to take over as CEO next year. Guess that's on hold now. He tried to laugh, but it turned into a cough. Rachel was instantly at his side with water, holding the straw to his lips with a tenderness she hadn't shown me in months. The surgery is scheduled for next Friday, she told him. Just 1 more week. 1 more week, Marcus repeated, his eyes on her. And then a new lease on life, thanks to your incredible husband. I should have seen it then. The way they looked at each other, the unspoken history in every glance, the fact that I was standing right there and might as well have been invisible. But I was still in denial, still telling myself this was just gratitude, just old friends reconnecting under extraordinary circumstances. We should let you rest, I said, unable to stand it any longer. Of course, David, truly thank you. I'll spend the rest of my life trying to be worthy of this gift. As we left the room, I heard him call out softly, Rachel. She turned back. Yes, stay, just for a few minutes. She looked at me, guilt and pleading warring in her expression. I'll wait in the lobby, I said, knowing I'd already lost this fight before it began. I waited for 45 minutes. When she finally emerged, her eyes were red again. He's scared, she said simply. He's terrified he won't make it to surgery. Rachel, I said carefully, do you still have feelings for him? It was the first time I'd asked directly. The first time I dared to voice the question that had been eating at me for 2 weeks. She was quiet for a long moment, too long. I love you, she said finally. You're my husband, that's what matters. Notice what she didn't say. Notice what I was too afraid to push on. We drove home in silence, the city lights blurring past the windows, and I wondered how I'd gotten to a place where I was about to give up a part of my body for a man I didn't know, to make my wife happy. The answer, I would learn too late, was that I'd been slowly disappearing since the day I'd married her. Accommodating, compromising, shrinking myself to fit into her life. This was just the logical extreme of a pattern I'd never recognized. The sound of a pen scratching on paper, the tick of a clock on a therapist's wall. Dr. Patricia Rodriguez was the transplant program's psychologist. Her office was warm, filled with plants and soft lighting that was probably meant to put people at ease. It didn't work. So, David, she began, reviewing her notes. You're here because you're planning to donate a kidney to Marcus Sterling. Can you tell me about your relationship with him? I don't have a relationship with him. I met him once, yesterday, and yet you're willing to undergo major surgery for him. Walk me through your thinking. This was it, the moment where I could back out, where I could admit this whole thing was insane. He needs a kidney. I have 2. I'm a match. It seems like a straightforward decision. Is it? Most people, even when they're a match, choose not to donate to strangers. Donation to family members is far more common. What makes this situation different? My wife, I heard myself say. Rachel, she and Marcus have history. She's devastated by his illness. If I can help, I should. Dr. Rodriguez set down her pen, giving me her full attention. Help Marcus or help Rachel? The question landed like a punch. Both, David. I've been doing this for 15 years. I've seen a lot of donors, and I've learned to recognize when someone is donating for the right reasons and when they're donating because they feel they have no choice. Which category do you fall into? This was it, my last exit, my final chance to admit the truth. I want to do it, I insisted. Nobody's forcing me. Your words say one thing, but your body language says another. You've been fidgeting since you sat down. You can barely maintain eye contact. You hesitated before answering every question about Marcus. These are signs of ambivalence. I'm nervous about surgery. That's normal, isn't it? Of course, but there's something else. Let me ask you directly, are you afraid of what will happen if you don't do this? The question pierced through all my defenses. What do you mean? Are you afraid of losing your wife if you back out? Silence. The clock ticked. Outside, a siren wailed past. That's not a healthy reason to donate, Dr. Rodriguez continued gently. David, I can't stop you from going through with this if you pass the medical requirements, but I can tell you that you're making a decision out of fear, not compassion, and that's something you'll have to live with for the rest of your life. So what are you saying? You won't approve me. I'm saying you should think very carefully about why you're doing this. Take the weekend. Really consider whether this is your choice or whether you're being coerced. Rachel hasn't coerced me. Coercion doesn't always look like force. Sometimes it looks like guilt. Sometimes it looks like love. Rain against windows, the rustle of papers. I didn't tell Rachel about the conversation with Dr. Rodriguez. Instead, I threw myself into work, trying to pretend that everything was normal, that in a week I wouldn't be lying on an operating table. My phone rang Friday evening. Amy. Hey sis, don't hey sis me, Mom just called. She said Rachel told her you're donating a kidney next week. What the hell, David? I'd forgotten that Rachel and my mother talked regularly. Of course she'd mentioned it. I was going to tell you, when, after the surgery, David, this is insane. Please tell me you're not actually going through with this. It's already scheduled. Then unschedule it. David, listen to yourself. You're giving up an organ for Rachel's ex-boyfriend. Do you hear how crazy that sounds? He's dying, Amy. So are thousands of other people. Are you going to donate to all of them too? She paused, her voice softening. I'm sorry, I know that sounds harsh, but David, I'm worried about you. This whole situation is wrong. Have you even stopped to ask yourself why Rachel's so invested in this guy? They were together for 4 years. It's natural she'd care. It's not natural to ask your husband to donate an organ to your ex. It's not natural to spend weeks at his bedside. David, wake up. She's still in love with him. You don't know that, don't I? When was the last time Rachel looked at you the way she looks at him? When was the last time she cried over you, fought for you, begged for you? The words cut because they were true. Rachel and I had been comfortable, compatible, convenient, but passionate. That fire had died if it had ever really existed. What do you want me to do, Amy? Back out now and destroy my marriage. If donating your kidney is the only thing holding your marriage together, it's already destroyed. I hung up, not angry, just exhausted. Exhausted by the doubt, the questions, the constant feeling that I was making a terrible mistake but unable to stop myself. My phone buzzed with a text from Rachel. At the hospital with Marcus. He's having a rough day, probably won't be home tonight. Love you, love you. 2 words that had become her shield, her excuse, her way of making everything okay. I texted back, K, not I love you too, not thinking of you. Just K. It was the first time I'd ever responded that way. The first crack in my facade of the understanding husband. She didn't notice. The sound of packing, the zip of a hospital bag. The surgery was scheduled for 6 a.m. Friday morning. Rachel and I were both to check in Thursday evening for pre-op preparations. Thursday afternoon, as I was packing my bag for the hospital, my phone rang. Unknown number. Hello. Is this David Chen? A woman's voice, cultured, cold. Yes, who's this? This is Victoria Sterling, Marcus's mother. I think it's time we met. My stomach dropped. Mrs. Sterling, I'm not sure. I'm downstairs in a black Mercedes. Come down now. We need to talk before tomorrow. The call ended. Every instinct screamed at me not to go. But I was so deep in this mess by now. What was one more complication? The Mercedes was indeed black, sleek, expensive. The back door opened as I approached, and I slid inside to find an elegant woman in her 60s, perfectly coiffed, wearing a Chanel suit and an expression of barely concealed disdain. Mr. Chen, thank you for meeting me. Did I have a choice? No, she smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Let me be direct. I want you to back out of the surgery. Of all the things I'd expected, this wasn't it. What? I don't want you donating your kidney to my son. I want you to refuse. Mrs. Sterling, your son is dying. I'm aware. I'm also aware that you're doing this because of Rachel, not because of any altruistic desire to help Marcus, and that makes you a liability. I don't understand, she sighed, as if explaining something to a particularly slow child. Marcus and Rachel were supposed to get married. Did you know that? He proposed to her. Senior year of college. She said yes. They had the venue booked, invitations designed, and then she got cold feet and ran. My world tilted. Rachel never told me they were engaged. Of course she didn't, because she's been lying to you from the beginning. She never got over Marcus. She married you because she was afraid of the depth of feeling she had for him, afraid of losing herself in that love. You were the safe choice, the backup plan. Each word was a knife, precisely placed. Why are you telling me this? Because if you donate that kidney, you'll be chaining yourself to my son forever. There will always be this connection, this debt. And Rachel will never let it go. She'll use it as an excuse to stay in Marcus's life, to stay in his orbit. Is that what you want? What I want, I said, my voice shaking, is for you to stop manipulating me. You don't want me to back out because you care about my marriage. You want me to back out because you don't think I'm good enough for your son's kidney. You'd rather he die than receive an organ from someone beneath the Sterling family status. Her eyes flashed. You're not as stupid as I thought. Yes, you're right. The Sterling family has standards. We take care of our own. We don't accept charity from who? People like me. Let me guess, my Chinese heritage is a problem for you too. I didn't say that. You didn't have to. I opened the car door. Mrs. Sterling, your son is getting my kidney tomorrow whether you like it or not. Not because I particularly want to save him, but because if I back out now, Rachel will never forgive me. And despite everything, I still love my wife. so you'll have to live with the fact that a backup plan saved your son's life. I slammed the door and walked back into my building, hands shaking, heart pounding. I thought I'd stood up for myself, thought I'd shown strength. I didn't realize I'd just admitted the truth. I was doing this for Rachel, not Marcus. And that Victoria Sterling had seen through me completely. The hum of hospital ventilation, the scratch of cotton sheets. Rachel arrived at the brownstone at 8 p.m. to pick me up for check-in. "Ready?" she asked brightly, her mood better than it had been in weeks. Marcus was stable, the surgery was finally happening, everything was falling into place. "Rachel, were you and Marcus engaged?" She froze in the doorway, her bag slipping from her shoulder. "What? His mother paid me a visit today. She told me you two were supposed to get married. Is that true?" For a long moment, she said nothing. Then she closed the door carefully, setting down her bag. "Yes," she said finally. "We were engaged, briefly. It was a long time ago." "How briefly? Does it matter?" "Yes, it matters. You told me he was just a college boyfriend. You never mentioned you almost married him. Because it wasn't relevant. David, it was over 10 years ago. I was 21, stupid, scared. I broke it off. I moved on. I met you. I married you. Did you move on? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you never got over him." "That's not fair." "Fair," I laughed bitterly. "You want to talk about fair? Rachel, I have been jumping through hoops for 2 weeks. Getting tested, meeting doctors, meeting him, going through psychological evaluations. And the whole time you've been lying to me about the extent of your history with this man." "I didn't lie. I just didn't tell you everything." "That's the same thing." "No, it's not." Her voice rose. "David, I didn't tell you because I knew you'd react exactly like this. I knew you'd make it into something it wasn't. Then tell me what it is, right now. Are you still in love with Marcus Sterling?" The question hung in the air between us, heavy and poisonous. "I love you," she said, tears starting. "You're my husband." "That's not what I asked. It's the only answer that matters." "No, Rachel, it's not anymore." I grabbed my hospital bag and walked out, leaving her standing in our living room. She caught up to me at the elevator. "David, please, don't do this. Not now, not the night before surgery. Maybe I should cancel it." Her face went white. "You can't. They've prepped Marcus. He's off dialysis. Everything is ready." "Exactly. Everything is ready for Marcus. What about me? What about what I want?" "What do you want?" she demanded. "Tell me and I'll give it to you." I wanted her to choose me. To say she loved me and only me. To prove that I wasn't just the safe choice, the backup plan, the convenient husband. But I couldn't say that because I was afraid of the answer. "I want you to be honest," I said instead. "For once in our marriage, be honest. Do you still have feelings for him?" The elevator arrived. The doors opened. We stood there, her tears streaming, my heart breaking. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, I do. I never stopped. But David, that doesn't mean I don't love you. I do. Just differently, and I'm asking you, begging you to please go through with this. Please save him, and then we can work on us. I promise." The elevator doors started to close. I caught them, stepped inside. "I'll do the surgery," I said. "But after this, Rachel, we're done. I want a divorce." Her scream followed me as the doors closed, muffled but audible. "You can't do this, David." But I could, and I would. I just had to survive the surgery first. The beep of monitors. The hiss of ventilators, the distant sound of crying. The pre-op area was private, thankfully. I couldn't have handled seeing Rachel in the hours before surgery. The nurses said she was in the waiting area, that she'd asked to see me, but I'd refused. Dr. Williams came by around midnight to check on me. "How are you feeling, David?" "Like I'm making the biggest mistake of my life." She sat down, her expression concerned. "You can still back out. It's not too late." "It is, though. If I back out now, Marcus could die before they find another donor. I'd be responsible." "You're not responsible for him, David. You didn't make him sick." "No, but I made promises. I said I'd do this. I may be a fool, but I'm not a liar." She nodded slowly. "I have to ask one more time. Are you doing this of your own free will?" "Define free will," I said bitterly. "Am I being physically forced?" "No." "Am I being emotionally manipulated?" "Absolutely. But at the end of the day, I'm choosing to go through with it. So yes, my own free will, such as it is. For what it's worth, I think you're very brave. Foolish, maybe, but brave. There's a thin line between the two." She left me with that thought, and I spent the remaining hours before surgery thinking about my life, my choices, the path that had led me here. I thought about my father, who died when I was 15, and how he'd once told me, "David, being a good man doesn't mean being a doormat." There's a difference between kindness and weakness. Don't ever forget that. I'd forgot. For 5 years, I'd forgot. The rattle of a gurney, the bright lights of an OR, voices counting backward. They came for me at 5:30 a.m. Rachel was there suddenly as they wheeled me down the corridor. She walked alongside the gurney, gripping my hand. David, please, don't do this. Don't leave me. We can work this out. After surgery, I mumbled, the pre-meds making everything fuzzy. We'll talk after. I love you so much. I'm sorry I didn't show it better. I'm sorry for everything. Please just give me another chance. Rachel Morrison Chen, I said, the words slurring. I loved you more than anything. That's why this hurts so much. We reached the OR. They stopped her at the door. I'll be here when you wake up, she promised. Right here, I won't leave. The last thing I saw before they put the mask over my face was her crying, reaching for me, mouthing, I love you over and over. And then darkness, muffled voices, the sensation of floating, pain distant but growing. I don't know how long the surgery took. Time had no meaning in that space between consciousness and oblivion, but I remember dreams, nightmares really. I dreamed I was in my brownstone, but it was empty echoing. I called for Rachel, but she was gone. I searched room after room, finding traces of her, an earring on the nightstand, her perfume in the bathroom, a note on the fridge, but she was nowhere. Then I was in a hospital, but I was the one dying. Marcus stood over my bed, healthy and whole, Rachel at his side. They were holding hands, talking about me like I wasn't there. He was always so naive, Rachel was saying. He believed everything I told him. Poor bastard, Marcus replied. At least he was useful in the end. They laughed, and the sound followed me down into deeper darkness. The steady beep of monitors, the smell of antiseptic, the pull of stitches. I woke up in recovery, groggy and nauseous. A nurse was checking my vitals. Welcome back, Mr. Chen. Surgery went perfectly. You're going to be fine. Marcus, I croaked. Mr. Sterling is in surgery now. They took your kidney about 4 hours ago. He should be out soon. 4 hours. I'd lost 4 hours of my life, plus one kidney, all for a man I didn't know. My wife, I asked. She's in the waiting area. She's been asking about you constantly. I can let her in once you're moved to your room. No, I said, tell her I need to rest, tell her I'll see her tomorrow. The nurse looked uncomfortable. Mr. Chen, she's your wife, she's been frantic. I don't care, I don't want to see her today. Even drugged, even in pain, I knew I needed time before I faced her. Because once I saw her, I'd either crumble and take her back, or I'd have to follow through on my promise to end things, and I needed to be strong for that. They moved me to a private room around noon. My sister Amy burst in an hour later, fury and relief warring on her face. You're an idiot, she said, hugging me carefully. The biggest idiot on the planet. Yeah, but you're alive and I love you, so there's that. There's that, I agreed. Rachel's outside. She's been trying to get in, but I told the nurses to bar her. You need to decide what you want to do. I want a divorce. Amy's eyes widened. You're serious, dead serious. I asked for one last night. As soon as I'm recovered, I'm filing. What happened? I told her. Everything. The engagement Rachel had hidden, the conversation with Victoria Sterling, Rachel's admission that she still had feelings for Marcus, all of it. Jesus, Amy breathed. David, I'm so sorry. Don't be. This is my fault. I saw the signs and ignored them. I chose to be blind. What are you going to do? Get better. Get out of this hospital. Get a lawyer. And get the hell away from Rachel Morrison. I'm proud of you, Amy said softly. It took you way too long, but I'm proud of you. A knock at the door. A nurse poked her head in. Mr. Chen, Mr. Sterling is out of surgery. It was successful. His family wanted me to tell you thank you. Tell them they're welcome, I said flatly. After the nurse left, Amy looked at me. How do you feel? Physically, like I've been cut open. Emotionally, I laughed, but it hurt. Like I just paid a very high price for a very important lesson. What lesson? That love isn't enough. Not without respect, honesty, and choosing each other every single day. Rachel never chose me, not really. I was always second place to a ghost, and I accepted that because I didn't think I deserved better. And now I know I do. The squeak of shoes on linoleum, the rustle of a hospital gown. Rachel finally cornered me on the second day. She waited until Amy left for work, then slipped into my room despite my instructions to the nurses. David, she said, her voice hoarse from crying. Please, we need to talk. There's nothing to talk about. You can't mean that. You can't just throw away 5 years because of a few misunderstandings. Misunderstandings. I struggled to sit up, pain shooting through my side. Rachel, you lied about your history with Marcus. You spent 2 weeks at his bedside. You admitted you still have feelings for him. Those aren't misunderstandings. Those are betrayals. I didn't betray you. I never cheated on you. No, what do you call spending more time with him than your own husband? What do you call asking me to give up an organ for the man you're still in love with? Just because it wasn't physical doesn't mean it wasn't cheating. She sank into the visitor's chair, looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. I never meant to hurt you. That's the problem, Rachel. You never meant anything. You never thought about me at all. This whole nightmare has been about what you wanted, what you needed, what would make you feel better. I was just a supporting character in your love story with Marcus. That's not true, isn't it? Be honest. If Marcus had been healthy, if this crisis had never happened, would you have stayed with me? Or would you have eventually left? Silence. Damning silence. I don't know, she finally whispered. At least you're being honest now. I took a breath, trying to manage the pain. I want you out of the brownstone. Pack your things and leave. Stay with a friend, get a hotel, I don't care, but I don't want you there when I get home. David, no, that's our home. It's my home. I bought it before we got married. You wanted to keep your condo in Tribeca, remember, for tax purposes. Well, congratulations, you can go back there. She'd kept the condo, I realized now, as a safety net, a backup plan, just like I'd been her backup plan when Marcus wasn't available. Please, she begged, don't do this. Love you, I know I didn't show it well, but I do. You love what I represent, stability, security, someone who won't leave you, but you're in love with Marcus, and I won't be your consolation prize anymore. I'm not in love with him. Yes, I have feelings, but that doesn't mean, Rachel, stop, just stop. You're not going to talk your way out of this. I'm done. The marriage is over. Please leave. She started crying in earnest then, deep sobs that shook her whole body. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I never wanted this to happen. Neither did I, but here we are. She left eventually when I threatened to call security. I watched her go, feeling nothing but relief and the distant ache of a wound that was finally being allowed to heal. The shuffle of papers, the scratch of a pen. I was discharged on day 3, against Dr. Williams's recommendation that I stay for 4. But I couldn't stand the hospital anymore, couldn't stand the possibility of running into Marcus or his family or Rachel. Amy took me back to the brownstone. True to my orders, Rachel had cleared out her belongings. The spaces where her things had been were like missing teeth, obvious and painful. How are you feeling? Amy asked, helping me settle on the couch. Like hell, I admitted, but that might be the painkillers wearing off. I meant emotionally. Also like hell, but at least it's honest hell, not the fake happiness I'd been living in. My phone had been buzzing constantly with messages. From Rachel, from her family, from mutual friends who'd heard about the separation. I'd ignored them all, but one message caught my attention. From a number I didn't recognize. Mr. Chen, this is Victoria Sterling. I hear you're pursuing divorce. I'd like to meet with you again at your earliest convenience. I believe we can help each other. Help each other. What could Marcus Sterling's mother possibly want from me now? Against my better judgment, I replied, tomorrow, 2 p.m., my home. Her response was immediate. I'll be there. Who's that? Amy asked, seeing my expression. Victoria Sterling. Apparently we're not done. David, I don't think you should be taking meetings with that woman. She's toxic. Maybe, but I'm curious. Besides, what more can she take from me? I've already given up my kidney and my marriage. I'm tapped out. Your dignity, Amy said seriously. Your peace of mind, your ability to move forward. Don't let her take those too. But I'd already agreed. And part of me wanted to know what game Victoria Sterling was playing. The doorbell chimes, the click of expensive heels. Victoria Sterling arrived exactly on time, wearing a different designer suit but the same expression of cool disdain. She surveyed my brownstone with an appraising eye. Charming, she said, though her tone suggested otherwise. Very bohemian. What do you want, Mrs. Sterling? She settled into my armchair without being invited, crossing her legs elegantly. Marcus is recovering well, thanks to you. He'll be in the hospital for another week, but the prognosis is excellent. I'm thrilled. You don't sound thrilled. You sound bitter. Good. Bitter I can work with. Get to the point. She opened her expensive handbag and withdrew a folder. I want to offer you a deal. $1 million to expedite your divorce and sign a non-disclosure agreement. I stared at her. A what? You heard me. $1 million. In exchange, you file for divorce immediately. Don't contest it, don't drag it out, and don't speak publicly about any of this. No interviews, no social media posts, no tell-all books. Sign the NDA, take the money, and disappear from Rachel's life. Why would you pay me to divorce my own wife? Because Rachel won't initiate it herself. She's too guilty, too conflicted. She'll try to work things out while sneaking around with Marcus, making everyone miserable. You'll be miserable, Marcus will be stressed, and Rachel will be torn. It's inefficient. Inefficient, I repeated numbly. I've seen this pattern before. The high school sweetheart who marries the wrong person, the sick lover who comes back into the picture, the reunion everyone pretends isn't romantic. It always ends the same way. Might as well skip to the end and save everyone the heartache. You mean save Marcus the heartache? Yes, she said simply. I'm his mother. His happiness is my priority. And he's never been happy without Rachel. This kidney transplant, this near-death experience, it's made them both realize what they lost. They belong together, you're just in the way. The words should have hurt. Instead, they felt like confirmation of everything I'd already known. And the NDA? You don't want me telling people that your precious son stole my wife. I don't want you complicating things with messy publicity. The Sterling name means something. I won't have it dragged through tabloids because you decide to play the victim. I am the victim. You're a volunteer. You chose this. You chose to donate, to stay married, to play the martyr. Now I'm offering you an exit with compensation. Take it. I looked at the folder, at the number on the check visible through the transparent pocket. 7 figures, more than enough to start over, to rebuild my life without financial stress. What if I say no? Then you fight a long, expensive divorce. Rachel's family has money. They'll hire the best lawyers. You'll spend years in court, tens of thousands in legal fees, and you'll still end up divorced. Only you'll be broke and bitter instead of just bitter. You've thought this through. I always do. She stood, leaving the folder on my coffee table. Take the weekend. Think about it. But Mr. Chen, understand this. Rachel is going back to Marcus. It's inevitable. The only question is whether you walk away with your dignity and a nice nest egg, or whether you drag this out until everyone hates you. Everyone already hates me, I said. Or did you miss the part where half our friends think I'm the bad guy for abandoning my wife after donating my kidney? Precisely. The narrative is already being written. Rachel is the devoted woman who stood by her dying first love. Marcus is the tragic figure who survived thanks to her husband's sacrifice. And you? You're the ungrateful spouse who couldn't handle his wife's compassion. That's the story people will believe, unless you take this deal and disappear before it solidifies. She moved toward the door, then paused. For what it's worth, I think you've been treated abominably. Rachel should never have married you when her heart belonged to someone else, and Marcus should never have allowed you to donate. But here we are. Make the smart choice, David. Take the money. Start over. Find someone who actually chooses you first. She left, and I sat there staring at the folder for a long time. The clink of beer bottles, the murmur of a sports bar. Please tell me you're not considering this, Amy said that evening over dinner. I'd called her after Victoria left, needing someone to talk me off the ledge or onto it, I wasn't sure which. $1 million, Amy. Blood money, that's what this is. That woman is paying you to go away because you're inconvenient to her son's love life. She's also right. Rachel is going back to Marcus. I can see it happening already. I can fight it, spend years in court, make everyone miserable and still lose. Or I can take the money and move on. This isn't about the money. This is about your pride. My pride, I laughed bitterly. Amy, I have no pride left. I gave my kidney to my wife's ex-boyfriend. My pride died on that operating table. Then find it again. Fight for yourself. You deserve better than being paid off like some dirty secret. Do I? Because right now I feel like I deserve exactly this. I was stupid enough to ignore the signs, weak enough to go through with the donation, pathetic enough to think Rachel actually loved me. Maybe this is my karma. Amy grabbed my hand across the table. Stop it. Stop talking like that. You're not stupid or weak or pathetic. You're a good person who loved someone who didn't deserve it. That's not a character flaw. Isn't it, loving the wrong person? No, it's human. But David, if you take this money, you're letting them win. You're letting Victoria Sterling write the ending to your story. Maybe her ending is better than mine would be. the sound of rain on windows, thunder in the distance. I spent the weekend in agony, physical from the surgery, emotional from everything else. The painkillers helped with the former but did nothing for the latter. On Sunday night, I sat in my home office, Victoria's folder open in front of me, and I made 2 phone calls. The first was to a divorce attorney Amy had recommended, Thomas Brennan, known for being aggressive and effective. "Mr. Chen," he said after I'd explained my situation, "let me be clear, if you take Victoria Sterling's money, you're admitting weakness. You're letting them control the narrative. I'd advise against it. But would I get more in a court battle? Maybe, maybe not, depends on a lot of factors. But more importantly, you'd maintain your dignity. You'd fight back. That's worth more than money." Is it because right now, dignity doesn't pay my mortgage? Fair point. Look, I can't tell you what to do, but I can tell you that clients who take settlements like this often regret it. Not because of the money, but because they never got their day in court. They never got to tell their side of the story. What if I don't want a day in court? What if I just want this to be over? Then take the deal. But know that you're giving up your chance to hold Rachel accountable. Once you sign that NDA, you can never speak about this publicly. Never write about it, never share your story, never warn other people about what she did. She gets to walk away clean. I thanked him and hung up, my mind racing. The second call was to Rachel. She answered on the first ring. "David, are you okay? I've been so worried. I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest. Anything. If Marcus hadn't gotten sick, would we still be married?" A long pause. "I don't know how to answer that. Honestly, that's how you answer it." Another pause, then softly, "Maybe not. Eventually, I think I was always going to go back to him. I just didn't know it until I saw him dying. There it was, the truth I'd known but needed to hear. Thank you for being honest. David, that doesn't mean I don't care about you. I do, I really do. You're an amazing person, but I'm not him." "No, you're not." She was crying now. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry I dragged you into this. I should have been stronger, should have ended things before asking you to donate. But I was scared and desperate, and I thought maybe after Marcus recovered, I could make it work with you. I could bury those feelings and be the wife you deserved. But I can't bury them. I know. Marcus wants to see you, to thank you properly. Would you? No, I never want to see Marcus Sterling again. I'm glad he's alive, but we're done. You're both done with me. We'll never be done with you. You saved his life. That connects us forever." "No, Rachel, it doesn't. That's what you don't understand. The kidney connects us biologically, but I'm severing everything else. I want a divorce. You'll be hearing from my lawyer." "David," I hung up, the scratch of a pen on paper, the finality of a signature. Monday morning, I made my decision. I called Victoria Sterling. "I'll take your deal, but I have conditions." "I'm listening. 2 million, not 1. And the NDA has a time limit, 10 years. After that, I can tell my story." "Absolutely not. The NDA is permanent." "Then no deal. I'm not being silenced forever. 10 years is enough time for everyone to move on. After that, if I want to write a book or give an interview, that's my right." She was quiet, calculating. "Fine, 10 years, but the price stays at 1 million, 1.5, and you pay my legal fees for the divorce, all of them." "You're negotiating in your position." "In my position, I have nothing to lose. You're the one who wants this done quietly and quickly. I can just as easily drag it out and make it messy. So yes, I'm negotiating. 1.5 million plus legal fees plus a 10-year NDA. Take it or leave it." Another pause, then deal. "I'll have the contracts drawn up today. You can sign by end of week. One more thing. I never want to see you, Marcus, or Rachel again after this. No thank you dinners, no reunions, no guilt trips." The moment I signed those papers, we're done, all of us. "Agreed. You'll get your wish, Mr. Chen. After this week, we'll all pretend you never existed." Funny how that promise hurt more than any insult. The rustle of legal documents, the cold efficiency of corporate law. The contracts arrived on Wednesday. 40 pages of legalese that boiled down to take the money and disappear. Thomas Brennan reviewed them for me. "It's airtight," he said. "Once you sign this, you're locked in. No talking about Rachel, Marcus, the donation, any of it for 10 years. And the divorce terms are generous, quick, uncontested, clean break. You keep the brownstone, your retirement accounts, everything you had before marriage. She keeps her stuff. No alimony either direction. What's the catch? The catch is you're giving up your story. Your right to defend yourself in the court of public opinion. If people think you're the bad guy, you have to live with that. Let them think what they want. I'll know the truth. Will that be enough? I didn't know, but I was about to find out. I signed the papers on Thursday afternoon, Victoria Sterling's lawyer as witness. The check for $1.5 million was direct deposited into my account within an hour. I was officially a millionaire, and officially alone. Chapter 12, The Confrontation, timestamp, 01-5502-05, the beep of a hospital room, the shuffle of get-well cards. I wasn't planning to see Marcus again. I'd been clear about that, but fate or Victoria's manipulation had other plans. 2 weeks after signing the agreement, I got a call from Dr. Williams. David, I need you to come in for a follow-up appointment. Just routine checks to make sure you're healing properly. I went, because ignoring your health after major surgery is stupid, no matter how emotionally destroyed you are. What I didn't expect was to literally run into Marcus in the hospital corridor. I was walking slowly, but walking, accompanied by a nurse. He looked better than when I'd seen him before surgery, healthier, almost normal. Of course he did. He had my kidney. David, he stopped, surprise and joy on his face. I didn't know you'd be here today. This is perfect. I've been wanting to thank you. Don't. I kept walking. He hurried after me, waving off his nurse. Wait, please, I need to say this. You don't need to say anything. We're done per the agreement. Screw the agreement. You saved my life. The least you can do is let me thank you. I spun around, anger finally breaking through the numbness I'd been living in. Let you thank me. Marcus, you took everything from me. My kidney, my wife, my marriage. And you want me to stand here and graciously accept your thanks. I didn't take Rachel. She was always mine. You were just borrowing her. The words were a slap. Excuse me. I didn't mean it like that. But David, you have to understand, Rachel and I have history. Real history, not just a few years of comfortable marriage. We have a connection that transcends time. A connection you abandoned. You left her. You broke up with her. You moved on. And then when it was convenient, when you needed something, you came back and destroyed what she'd built. I never left her. She left me. She got scared and ran, but I never stopped loving her. Never stopped hoping she'd come back. And now she has. Congratulations. I hope you're both very happy with your transcendent connection. I started to walk away again, but he grabbed my arm. David, wait, I'm trying to apologize. For what? For being in love with my wife, for getting sick, for accepting my kidney. Which part are you sorry for exactly? For all of it. For not being strong enough to refuse the donation. For letting Rachel manipulate you. For being the reason your marriage ended. You weren't the reason. Rachel was. And so was I, for being blind to what was happening. She does love you, you know, in her way. Her way isn't enough, not for me, not anymore. I pulled my arm free. Marcus, I hope you have a long, healthy life. I hope my kidney serves you well, but I also hope I never see you again. You and Rachel deserve each other, and I deserve better. You do, he said quietly. For what it's worth, I think you're a better man than I am. I could never have done what you did. No, you couldn't. Because you only think about yourself. But that's not a compliment to me. It's a character flaw of yours. I left him standing there and went to my appointment, hands shaking, heart pounding. That was the moment I finally felt it. Anger. Real, burning, cleansing anger. Not at Rachel or Marcus specifically, but at myself for letting it get this far. For being so accommodating that I'd accommodated myself right out of my own life. The slam of a door. The echo of footsteps in an empty house. The divorce was finalized 8 weeks after I signed Victoria's agreement. Fastest divorce in New York history, probably greased by Sterling family lawyers who wanted it done and gone. Rachel didn't contest anything, didn't fight for the brownstone or my retirement or anything. She just signed and walked away, probably relieved. We met one last time at the lawyer's office to finalize the paperwork. She looked different, lighter, somehow happier. The guilt that had weighed on her for weeks was gone, replaced by the glow of someone who'd finally chosen what they really wanted. "Hi," she said softly as we waited in the conference room. "Hi, how are you feeling? Physically, I mean." "Better, healed mostly. The scar is still sensitive, but the doctors say that's normal." "Good, that's good." She twisted her ring. She was still wearing her wedding band, I noticed. "David, I want you to know, don't. Whatever you're going to say, just don't. Let's sign the papers and be done. I need to say it. I need you to know that I'm sorry, truly sorry. You deserved so much better than what I gave you." "Yes, I did, and I hope someday you can forgive me." Forgive you. I looked at her, really looked at her, and saw a stranger. This woman I'd loved, married, built a life with, she was a stranger. Rachel, I forgive you. I forgive you because holding on to anger would only hurt me, but I'll never forget. I'll never forget that you chose him over me every single day of our marriage, that I was never your first choice, that you let me believe I was building a future when really I was just keeping your seat warm until he came back. Tears streamed down her face. It wasn't like that. It was exactly like that. But you know what? I'm grateful. Grateful that this happened now and not in 10 years. Grateful that I didn't waste more of my life on someone who didn't really want me. Grateful that I get to start over while I'm still young enough to find actual love. You'll find someone amazing, someone who deserves you. I know, and you'll be with Marcus, which is what you always wanted. The lawyers brought in the final papers. We signed in silence, our marriage ending with pen strokes and notary stamps. As we left the building, she tried one more time. David, can we be friends eventually? No, Rachel, we can't. Friends don't do what you did to me. Take care of yourself, take care of Marcus, but leave me alone. I walked away and didn't look back. The sound of construction, the smell of fresh paint. 6 months after the divorce, I sold the brownstone. Too many memories, too many ghosts. I couldn't walk through those rooms without seeing Rachel, without remembering the life we'd built and destroyed. I used part of Victoria's money to buy a loft in Dumbo with views of the Manhattan skyline. Open plan, modern, nothing like the brownstone. A fresh start in every sense. I also did something I'd always wanted to do but never had the courage. I left Morrison and Associates and started my own firm. Chen and Partners Architecture. Partners being aspirational, for now it was just me. But I was designing buildings again, creating instead of just managing. The first commission was a small boutique hotel in the Hudson Valley. Nothing glamorous, but it was mine. Amy was my biggest cheerleader. I'm proud of you, she said, helping me move into the new loft. You're actually living your life instead of just surviving it. It's harder than I expected. Of course it is. Growth is hard, but look at you, you're doing it anyway. I was also going to therapy. Dr. Marcus Kim, no relation to my ex's transplant recipient, thankfully, specialized in helping people recover from emotional trauma and manipulative relationships. You exhibit classic signs of someone who was in a one-sided marriage, he told me in one of our early sessions. You gave and gave and gave, and Rachel took and took and took. That's not love, that's exploitation. She didn't mean to exploit me. Intention doesn't negate impact. She exploited you whether she meant to or not, and you let her because you'd convinced yourself that being a good husband meant being endlessly accommodating. What should I have done differently? Set boundaries. Said no, demanded that she treat your needs as equal to hers, walked away when she couldn't. Easier said than done. Most worthwhile things are the clink of wine glasses, the murmur of restaurant conversation. I started dating again 8 months post-divorce. Nothing serious at first, just coffee dates and casual dinners. Relearning how to be single, how to present myself, how to trust again. Some dates were disasters. One woman spent the entire evening talking about her ex. Another was clearly still married, just exploring options. A third turned out to be one of Rachel's former colleagues and grilled me about the divorce until I excused myself and left. But some were nice. Good conversations, shared interests, the possibility of something more. I met Jennifer at a gallery opening. She was an art curator, sharp and funny, with none of Rachel's manipulative tendencies. We went on 3 dates before I worked up the courage to tell her about the kidney donation and divorce. Wow, she said, setting down her wine glass. That's a lot. I know, if you want to run, I understand. Why would I run? David, you went through something traumatic and you're rebuilding. That's admirable. Most people think I'm an idiot. Most people didn't live it. Look, I'm not saying I want to marry you tomorrow, but I'd like to keep seeing you if you're interested. I was interested. More than I expected to be. Jennifer and I dated for 3 months before mutually agreeing we were better as friends, but it was amicable, healthy, nothing like the toxicity of my marriage. You're getting there, Dr. Kim said when I told him. You're learning what a healthy relationship looks like. That's progress. Slow progress. Progress is progress. Don't diminish it. Chapter 14, The Reckoning, timestamp 02/15/02/25, the buzz of social media. The viral spread of gossip. I'd been following the NDA religiously, not talking about Rachel or Marcus to anyone outside my immediate family, but I couldn't control what other people said. 18 months after the divorce, someone leaked the story. Not the details, Victoria's NDA protected those. But the basic outline: architect donates kidney to wife's ex-boyfriend, files for divorce immediately after, ex-wife and recipient now engaged. Yes, engaged. I found out through Instagram, of all places. A friend from college posted congratulations to Rachel, who'd shared a photo of her hand, Marcus's grandmother's ring on her finger, his arm around her waist, both of them glowing with happiness. The caption: finally getting our forever. Thank you to everyone who supported us through the hardest year of our lives. Miracles do happen. No mention of me, no acknowledgement of the organ that saved Marcus's life, just miracles. I stared at the photo for a long time, waiting to feel something. Anger, jealousy, regret. Instead, I felt relieved. Relieved that I'd gotten out. Relieved that I wasn't the one standing next to her, pretending to be happy while wondering if I'd ever truly be her first choice. But the internet had opinions. The story went viral. Twitter threads dissecting the ethics of the situation. Reddit posts calling Rachel a monster. TikTok videos reenacting the drama for entertainment. My phone exploded with interview requests. Every major news outlet, several podcasts, even a couple of book publishers wanting me to tell my story. The NDA, Amy reminded me when I mentioned the offers. You signed away your right to speak. For 10 years, it's only been 18 months. David, if you break it now, Victoria Sterling will destroy you. She has the resources and the motivation. Maybe it's worth it. Maybe people deserve to know the truth. And maybe you deserve peace more than you deserve revenge. She was right, of course. I declined all the interviews, released a single statement through a lawyer. I wish Rachel and Marcus well. This is a private family matter. Please respect my privacy. But privately, I was furious. Furious that they got to control the narrative, that they got to be the romantic comeback story while I was the footnote, the donor, the ex-husband nobody remembered, the ring of a phone, a voice from the past. The call came 2 months later, 3 weeks before Rachel and Marcus's wedding. David, it's Marcus. I almost hung up, should have hung up. What do you want? I know I'm probably the last person you want to hear from, but I'm calling because I think you deserve to know something. I don't want to know anything about you and Rachel. It's not about us, it's about the kidney, your kidney. My blood went cold. What about it? It's failing. The world tilted. What? Not completely. But there are signs of rejection. My body is fighting it. The doctors are trying everything, but the truth is, I might need another transplant within a few years. I couldn't speak, couldn't process what he was saying. I'm calling because I wanted you to know before anyone else found out, and because I wanted to say, I'm sorry I wasted your sacrifice. I'm sorry that your kidney, your incredible gift, might not be enough after all. Are you dying? The question came out flat, emotionless. Not immediately, but eventually without another transplant, yes. Good, silence on the other end. I mean it, I continued, my voice rising. Good, I hope you suffer. I hope you lie awake at night terrified of dying. I hope you feel a fraction of what you put me through. And I hope Rachel has to watch you deteriorate and realize that I gave you a piece of my body for nothing. David, no, you don't get to make me feel guilty. You don't get to call me and expect sympathy. You stole my wife. You ruined my life, and now your body is rejecting my kidney. That's not tragedy, that's karma. I hung up, shaking with adrenaline and rage. Was I proud of what I said? No. Did I mean it in that moment? Yes, every word. The anger I'd been suppressing for nearly 2 years came pouring out, and it felt righteous and terrible all at once. The scratch of pen on paper, the catharsis of writing. After Marcus's call, I did something I'd been avoiding. I started writing my story. Not for publication, not yet. The NDA still had 8 years to run, but for myself, for the therapy of it. For the proof that I'd existed, that this had happened, that I wasn't crazy for feeling betrayed. I wrote about meeting Rachel, falling in love, the perfect early years, about the cracks I'd ignored, the red flags I'd dismissed, about Marcus's illness and Rachel's desperate request, about the surgery and the aftermath and the divorce. I wrote about Victoria Sterling's blood money and the NDA that silenced me, about rebuilding my life from scratch, about the anger and grief and eventual acceptance. And I wrote about Marcus's phone call, about the kidney rejection, about the vindictive satisfaction I'd felt. Dr. Kim read some of it in our sessions. "This is powerful," he said. "Raw, honest. How does it feel to write it? Like lancing a wound, painful but necessary. Are you planning to publish after the NDA expires?" Maybe, I don't know. Part of me wants to. Part of me wants to move on and never think about this again. Those aren't mutually exclusive. You can tell your story and still move forward. Can I? Because right now it feels like this will define me forever. David Chen, the man who donated a kidney to his wife's ex. That's my identity now. Only if you let it be. Yes, this happened to you. Yes, it's significant. But you're also an architect, a brother, a friend, a man who's rebuilding his life. You contain multitudes. Don't reduce yourself to one traumatic event. Even if that event cost me a kidney and a marriage. Even then, the sound of music at a wedding, the clink of champagne flutes. 2 years and 3 months after my divorce, I went to a wedding. Not Rachel and Marcus's, God no, my college friend Ryan's. It was the first wedding I'd attended since my own, and I was nervous. Weddings felt like landmines now, full of triggers and reminders of what I'd lost. But I went because Ryan was important to me and I was tired of letting fear run my life. The ceremony was beautiful, traditional, heartfelt, with vows that actually seemed genuine. When Ryan and his bride kissed, the entire room erupted in applause. I found myself smiling, actually smiling. At the reception, I was seated at a table with other singles, including a woman named Claire, Ryan's colleague, a landscape architect with curly hair and a quick laugh. "You're the David Chen," she said when we were introduced. "Ryan talks about you constantly, says you're the best architect he knows. He's biased, maybe, or maybe you're just that good." We talked through dinner, through the toasts, through the first dance. About work, about design, about our shared love of mid-century modern architecture. She was easy to talk to, funny without trying too hard, and when she smiled, I felt something I hadn't felt in years, hope. "Would you want to get coffee sometime?" I asked as the evening wound down. "I'd like that," she said, "but full disclosure, I know your story, about the kidney and the divorce. Ryan told me if that's a problem, it's not a problem, I'm just tired of it defining me. Then let's not let it. Coffee on Thursday. Thursday works. The sound of waves, the smell of salt air." That coffee turned into dinner. Dinner turned into a weekend trip to Montauk. The weekend turned into a relationship. Claire was different from Rachel in every way that mattered. She was direct, honest, and never played games. If she was upset, she said so. If she wanted something, she asked. If she loved you, she showed it. "I'm not good at subtle," she warned me early on. "I don't drop hints. I don't expect you to read my mind. If I have a problem, we'll talk about it." That sounds exhausting. It's only exhausting if you're used to walking on eggshells. I'd rather have honest conversations than silent resentment. She was right, and slowly I learned to be direct too, to say what I needed instead of accommodating, to walk away from situations that didn't serve me. 6 months into our relationship, Claire met Amy. "I like her," Amy declared immediately. "She's nothing like Rachel." Is that a compliment? The highest one I can give. "David, she looks at you like you're the center of her universe, not like you're a supporting player in her drama. It still scares me sometimes, waiting for the other shoe to drop. That's trauma. It'll fade with time. But David, Claire isn't Rachel. Don't punish her for someone else's mistakes." I'm trying not to, I know, and that's all anyone can ask. 5 years after the divorce, I stood in the nursery of the house Claire and I had designed together. A sustainable, solar-powered masterpiece in Beacon, New York, holding my daughter. Emma Chen was 3 months old, with Claire's curly hair and my dark eyes, and she was perfect. "She has your stubborn streak," Claire said, watching from the doorway. "Took her an hour to fall asleep. She's discerning. She knows what she wants. Just like her dad." I smiled at that, me knowing what I wanted. 5 years ago, that would have been a joke, but now I knew exactly what I wanted. This family, this life. This chance to do everything right the second time around. "Any regrets?" Claire asked, not for the first time. "About us, never." I meant about everything. The kidney, Rachel, all of it. I thought about that, really thought about it. "No," I said finally. "Not anymore, because if all that hadn't happened, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have Claire. I wouldn't have Emma." I'd still be in that brownstone, married to someone who didn't really love me, slowly dying inside. The kidney doesn't bother you. It did for a long time, but I've made peace with it. I saved someone's life even if they didn't deserve it. That counts for something. And Rachel, I hadn't thought about Rachel in months. She and Marcus had gotten married, according to social media. They were living in Connecticut, working at the Sterling family business together. The perfect power couple. Marcus's kidney rejection had stabilized, apparently. He was on medication but functioning. They'd even talked about having children. I hope she's happy, I said, surprising myself by meaning it. I hope they both are, and I hope they never think of me. That's very mature. I'm a dad now, I have to be mature. Emma stirred in my arms, making soft baby noises. I looked down at her, at this tiny human who existed because I'd made different choices, and I felt overwhelming gratitude. Not for the trauma, not for the pain, but for the growth that came after, the sound of typing, the scratch of a pen on a contract. The NDA expired 7 years after I signed it. I'd almost forgotten about it until Victoria Sterling's lawyer sent a formal notice. As of today, you are released from all confidentiality obligations. I could tell my story now. Publish the manuscript I'd written. Do the interviews that were still being offered. Are you going to? Claire asked. I don't know. Part of me wants to, part of me feels like it doesn't matter anymore. Then don't decide now. Sit with it. See how you feel in 6 months. In the end, I did publish. Not in a book or through a media blitz, but in a series of essays on Medium under a pseudonym. I changed the names, altered identifying details, but told the essential truth about the cost of loving someone who doesn't choose you back, about the difference between being accommodating and being a doormat. About learning to set boundaries, even when it costs you everything. About rebuilding yourself from the ground up. The essays went viral. Millions of reads, thousands of comments. People shared their own stories of one-sided relationships, of manipulation disguised as love, of finally finding the courage to leave. You helped people, Claire said, reading the comments together. Look at this. This gave me the strength to leave my marriage. And this one, I finally understand that I deserve better. I just told my story. Stories matter. Your story matters. Rachel never commented publicly, but I heard through mutual friends that she'd read them, that she'd cried, that she'd called them unfair and one-sided. Marcus apparently was furious. He'd threatened to sue for defamation until his lawyers pointed out that truth is an absolute defense. Victoria Sterling sent me one text. You broke our agreement in spirit, even if not in letter. I hope you're satisfied. I was. Not because I'd hurt them, though I won't lie, there was some satisfaction there, but because I'd reclaimed my narrative. I'd stopped being the silent victim and become the author of my own story. The sound of architecture plans unrolling, the scratch of pencil on tracing paper. 10 years after the kidney donation, my firm was thriving. Chen and Partners had grown to 15 employees, with offices in New York and Portland. We specialized in sustainable residential design and had won multiple awards. I was 42, happily married, father of 2, Emma and her younger brother Jack, and genuinely content. And then I got a call that brought everything full circle. Mr. Chen, this is Memorial Sloan Kettering Hospital. We have a patient here asking to see you. Marcus Sterling, he says it's urgent. My first instinct was to refuse, but curiosity and maybe a touch of vindictiveness made me agree. The beep of monitors, the smell of hospital disinfectant. Deja vu. Marcus looked bad. Not dying but sick, the kidney rejection had progressed despite the medications. He was on dialysis again, waiting for another transplant. Rachel was there, looking older, tired. She didn't meet my eyes when I walked in. David, Marcus said weakly, thank you for coming. I almost didn't. What do you want? To apologize. Really apologize, not the half-assed attempt I made before. I was selfish. I knew you were uncomfortable donating, knew Rachel had manipulated you, and I accepted it anyway because I wanted to live. And now I'm facing the same situation again, needing another kidney, and I can't find a donor. My family has been tested again, still no matches. Friends have been tested, nothing. And I realize that the universe is making me pay for what I did to you. The universe doesn't work that way, doesn't it? David, I got 10 extra years because of you. 10 years I shouldn't have had. I got to marry Rachel, build a career, live a life. and now it's ending and I can't help but think it's karma. What do you want from me, Marcus? Forgiveness. You have it. I forgave you years ago. Not for you, but for me. I want you to know that it wasn't worth it. I stared at him. What? Rachel and I were getting divorced. Have been for 6 months. The papers should be final next month. I looked at Rachel, who was crying silently in the corner. What happened? What always happens when you build a relationship on someone else's sacrifice, Marcus said. Guilt, resentment, the knowledge that we destroyed a good person to be together. It poisoned everything. That's not my problem. No, it's not. I'm not telling you to make you feel guilty or to ask for anything. I'm telling you because you deserve to know that you won. You walked away and built a real life. We stayed and built a prison. You were the smart one. I wasn't smart. I was just finally done being a doormat. However it happened, you did it right, and I want to thank you, not for the kidney, but for being the example that made me realize how badly I'd fucked up my life. The echo of footsteps in a hospital corridor, the finality of goodbye. Rachel followed me out. David, wait, don't, please, I need to say something. I stopped but didn't turn around. You were right about everything. I never chose you the way I should have. I used you, manipulated you, and convinced myself it was love, and I've spent 10 years living with that guilt. Good. Marcus and I couldn't make it work. We tried. God, we tried. But every time we were happy, I'd think about you, about what we did to you, and it would ruin it. I couldn't escape the fact that our happiness was built on your pain. Is this supposed to make me feel better? No, it's supposed to be the truth, the honest truth I should have told you a decade ago. David, I'm sorry. I'm sorrier than you'll ever know, and if I could go back and make different choices, you'd still choose him. Let's be honest, Rachel. If you had it to do over, you'd still choose Marcus. You'd just be smarter about how you did it. She flinched but didn't deny it. That's what I thought. Take care of yourself, Rachel. I hope you find whatever it is you're looking for, but find it without using people. I walked away for the final time, and it felt like closing a book I'd been carrying for too long. The sound of home, laughter,